When you have decided that you are a brand or you're starting a business, to actively create content for that brand, for things that speak to that brand, or for things that speak to that business, can seem more daunting than it is for you to just post a regular meme or share easy tweet on Twitter, just posting your random stuff. When you've decided that this is what I want to do and this is the business I'm in, you need to have a proper content strategy. And it encompasses everything that you can think of. It's your story, it's your message, it's your purpose, it's everything. It's entertaining people, it's making them laugh, it's informing them about things that happen in your industry. It's literally everything you can think about. And you need to find a structure, a way to communicate this without seeming too all over the place, without seeming too random. And to help me figure this out, I asked my friend and mentor, Dr. Moshe, to come and speak with me about content creation and content creation strategy, because it's something that I know that we all need, including myself. For everything, content is king, they say. And the more content you have for your brand, for your business, the easier it seems to develop a community or to sell your product or to sell your service, whatever it is that you're putting out there. It's just easier to know and to have a content strategy. But what is a content strategy? What needs to go in there? How do we put it together? What do we need to think about? What does it need to have? All of these things. I sat down with Mo and I asked my question. Here's the interview. Hi, Mo, or Dr. Mo. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about this topic, creating content. This is something that a lot of us, individuals and businesses, struggle with. And seeing as you are a doctor in the field and you are a social media, how do I say, expert in every sense, I wanted you to come and give us some tips and tricks and information. How can we do this thing? So I want you to give us a really nice introduction about you, Mo, Dr. Mo, sorry. um, what, who is Mohammed? Who is Mohammed Shehu? Doctor. I'm sorry.
I tend to shy away from introductions because there's so much, but not all of it will be relevant to the audience or what it is that we're talking about today. So I think I'll keep my intro very brief. Dr. Mo is a content marketing strategist slash consultant. I do a lot of things like a lot of other people from my generation, but within the context of this show, I'm a content marketing strategist. And what I do is I help businesses and individuals to create better content that helps them sell their brand and make more money and grow their audience base. So I work across different platforms, from social media to print to radio to a little bit of video as well. And what I enjoy about this process is helping people find their voice to talk about things that are relevant to their industry, because I see people walking around with gold in their head. I like to say they have gold in their head, but for various reasons, whether that's imposter syndrome, whether that's a lack of time or lack of resources, they don't know how to extract that knowledge and place it out in the public for public consumption. And so that's where I come in and I help them break down, okay, what is it that you do? What do you want to convey? What are you trying to sell? How is this going to help your customer? And we come up with a plan to do that across multiple channels.
And what really got you into this? How did you go from, regular Mo to here?
Mm.
What was the steps, or what were the steps in between?
I think it was. There's lots of moments, but I think one of the pivotal moments was when I was living in Botswana, and I remember when Facebook first started, there were people who built up this really large audiences very quickly, and it was purely through content. So you'd find someone with hundreds of likes on a post or comments on a post. And I would sit there, scrolling through the comments and asking myself, wow, how do they manage to captivate so many people on one post? And so that's how I got fascinated by the concept of audience building. Everything starts with an audience, right? And so I started posting as well, experimenting with different platforms, different content types. I mean, I've done it all, from like super inspirational posts to memes that would make a pastor blush. I've done it all because I'm just testing to see what type of content works, what resonates. I love it when a piece of content resonates. So I've been interested in content for the longest time. And when I found out that you could make money from it, I was like, yep, that's it. Mhm. Like, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. So here I am today, and I'm creating content, and I love it. And I want to be creating even more content going forward. And I want to get other people into content creation, because I think people don't really recognize the importance and the benefit to creating content. They don't recognize the power and potential in creating content. It's really big.
I have a video before where I spoke about how to develop a personal brand and things that I think people could do to improve their personal brand. And a big part of that is just creating content and posting content consistently. But how do you even start? Where do we start to create content? And people say so many things, but it kind of feels like you don't know where to start and how to start. And then there are things like story brand or all of these things. So please take us right from the start, or where do you think we can start? An average person could start with creating content or creating a content strategy. What is a content strategy?
Great. So thanks for the intro. Firstly, my answer is going to be based on the assumption that the person has already decided what it is that they want to do in terms of the theme or the niche they want to focus on. Yeah. So if we're talking about content strategy, the way I think about it, it's usually content and cadence. Content strategy is really just those two things. It's content and cadence, as well as the audience that you're going to be speaking to. But again, this is assuming you already know who you're going to be speaking to. Okay. So the cadence really is just another fancy way of saying the frequency of how often you're going to post. This could be daily, weekly, monthly. You could have annual anniversaries. So say, for example, you are a brand that caters to moms or women in general, then you know that every year you're going to be posting something related to Mother's Day. Or if you're targeting men, then Father's Day will be something along those lines. So the frequency that you're going to post at will form a core part of your content strategy. Now, this is something that can change, that can evolve. You might start out, maybe you had a lot of energy and time and you were doing things, you were posting every single day. And then after a while, you decide, actually, let me scale it back and do more in-depth content a lot more, less frequently. So I'll use myself as an example. When I started doing my newsletter, I was writing that stuff every week. And I realized that it was taking a lot for me. So I decided, let me now scale it back to once a month and really go in depth into it. So your content cadence will depend on your resources. It'll depend on your own willingness to create content, but it's always advisable to be as consistent as possible, because the more consistent you are, the more you build that brand that you're looking to grow over time. And so that's the cadence part of things. And then the other part is content. And content really just boils down to the themes you're going to be writing about. So again, this assumes that you've done stuff, you've already figured out your niche, you've figured out your audience. Then in terms of the content that you can do, you can use the EMEI method. So EMEI, and that stands for educate, motivate, entertain, and inform, right? So the first one, well, let's assume you have a brand that teaches people how to land a job or how to succeed in the world of work, right? So in terms of educate, you can teach people how to apply for a remote job, or how to design a CV, or how to negotiate your salary. Okay. So you're educating your readers or your audience about the stuff. And then you can motivate them. So you give them daily affirmations for job seekers. You can do it. I've never really been great with motivations. I'm not sure how you guys do it, but like, yeah, you can do it. It's not the end of the road. Everything is going to be all right, type of thing, right? So motivating them. So depending on the kind of brand you have, motivation can be a very powerful type of content that you create. Obviously, this works for B2C brands. But B2B is a little bit different because companies don't really need affirmations. They need information and education on how to make more money or save more money. And then the next E is entertain. So you can entertain them. Again, this depends on the kind of brand you have. Some brands are better suited to entertainment than others. Banks, for example, don't really do entertainment because you need to be a lot more serious and authoritative, and when you are dealing with people's money. But if you are doing, again, going back to our career coaching example, entertainment can involve memes about corporate life. There's plenty of those that people can relate to. You can run competitions for people to win free job coaching or free career coaching or swag merchandise that they can wear to the next gig, win a suit for your next interview, that kind of stuff. So that's all entertainment. And then performances as well. If you've got anybody who can come and do a performance, if, say, for example, this is for another brand, and you bring an artist to come and perform for your audience, or you start up a podcast and you talk about, I don't know, whatever it is that works, that will entertain your audience, right? So this depends from brand to brand. And then inform is where you give news updates, right? It's where you give, in this case, post job vacancies. So you're informing people about opportunities that are out there, about changes to legislation or changes to the industry or changes to events that are happening that might be relevant to them. So these are all different ways that you can create content on a regular basis. Now, another caveat to content creation is that you don't have to create all the content yourself. So they usually have a 30 to 70 ratio, which means 30% of all your content should be from you, and then 70% should be from other sources, right? You're curating content from other sources, you're sharing, you're retweeting, you're pinning content from other places, in this example, for example, other career websites, other media outlets that post about jobs. You share their content, so you expose your audience to these guys, and then they also, if they share yours, then they expose their audience to your content. So you don't have to create all the content yourself. I think that's what scares a lot of people, is thinking that they have to create all that content themselves, and so they shy away from creating content. Yeah, people is us. So we are people, right? So it's definitely a problem. But I think once people understand that content creation does not have to be this grueling job, it becomes a lot easier and becomes a lot more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, because when I think about creating content, I'm like, okay, I need to create content for the next 6 months. And I'm just thinking, where am I going to find enough content for the next 6 months? Because I know about consistency, I know about the algorithm, depending on the platform, and, all these many different things. Another thing that I think people also struggle with is how to stay on trend, or if my business or my brand is supposed to be part of whatever is trending right now. How do you figure out if you're supposed to go with the trend, or if you're just supposed to stick to your own thing and keep at that?
I think so. Again, it boils down to the kind of business that you are. If you are a news outlet, for example, say you are a news outlet that reports on news in the music industry, then in that case, you need to be on trend all the time, right? You need to always have the latest happenings in the music industry. You need to post about it because you're informing. A lot of your work is informing, a lot of your content is informational. But if you do, say, farming, you run a farming brand or a fashion brand or a therapy brand, then I would advise personally that you focus a lot more on evergreen content. I like to say that if you as a brand, if I scroll down your Instagram feed all the way to 5 years ago, will the content still be relevant? That should always be the yardstick for the content that you create, that even 5, 10 years from now, the content you write still holds value, still carries weight. So when you focus on evergreen content, there's several benefits to that. First of all, your content never expires, but also secondly, you can always repurpose that content, right? So say you write a guide to finding a remote job. So today it's a blog post. Tomorrow you turn that into a podcast, the next day into a video, the next day into an infographic, the next day into a presentation slide that you send out the link to. So evergreen content can always be repurposed, but informational content it's ephemeral. It's here today and tomorrow it's completely irrelevant. Like a celebrity is dating who. Yeah, sure, that's fine now, but tomorrow it will be obsolete. And do you really want that on your page if that's not what your brand is about?
So true. And I think that or what are some of the tools that you use to help yourself stay consistent or to keep on coming up with new ideas to post? Because sometimes it feels like I said something last year and it hasn't changed. And I kind of want to repeat myself again. So what are the tools that you use to kind of like keep yourself consistent in the things that in the content that you create?
So one thing that people need to understand is that content replenishes itself, right? The more content you create, the more content you discover to create. So give an example. Right now, I'm working on a guide for how to land a well-paying remote job. And it's got several sections to it. Learning the right skills, improving your CV and cover letter, improving your online visibility, joining the right communities, and then the application process itself and how to prepare for an interview. So once I've written that blog post, instantly I can go back to that blog post and go, oh, okay, I wrote about my skills, but there's a lot more I can say here. Let me dive deeper. And so I dive deeper into that. And maybe I give a whole list of websites. I give a whole list of the subscription prices, if there are, the number of skills or the types of skills that you can learn from there and how to get started. And if there's a voucher or code that you can enter. Maybe tomorrow I'll go into how to join the right communities. So I briefly touched on it, but now I can expand on that and give a list of communities in different niches that you can join, how much they cost, how long they've been running, give a little backstory and stuff. So content is infinite. That's the first thing everybody needs to understand. Content, you can never run out of content because there's always more to talk about, and things that are related to your brand, related to the topic, related to the industry, related to the people. There's so many different angles and perspectives that you can take when it comes to creating content, that the idea that you can ever run out of content is you just haven't created enough content. Just start creating and the ideas will flow.
Yeah. So how do you because I know that creating, like you said, creating content is something that it's a lot of work, right? You just spoke about writing a blog post, doing a video, doing a podcast, doing an infographic. How do you basically work like 7 people in one body? Are there any tips on how to actually produce this content consistently?
Sure. So firstly, I'd want to do away with the idea that creating content is hard. It's not. I promise you, it's not, and it gets easier once you get into the flow of things. Once you figure out a process. So I'll give you an example of my process when I'm creating content. Especially most recently, I'll start out with a video. A video is a lot more natural. You can just have basic talking points, and then you're speaking naturally off the cuff. You create that video, and then so that becomes content, first of all, and then you take out the audio of that. You can extract that using a whole bunch of software tools, and that becomes a podcast episode. And then you summarize that video, and that becomes a blog post. You break out parts of that blog post, and those become social media posts. You can then create an infographic of that stuff, or ask someone to design it for you, and that becomes an infographic. So right off the bat, you've created 5 pieces of content from one video.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a lot of work, because all you're doing is taking the same thing you've created, and you're dividing it into different content formats, and you're publishing it at different times. So I might drop the video today, drop the podcast next week, drop the blog post in 2 weeks. Social media, I'll just schedule them out over the next 3 months, and then the infographic can come after the 3rd month, for example. So it will look like, oh wow, this guy's got 5 people working for him, but it's just one piece of content.
Yeah.
And that's why I suggest, or I recommend, focusing more on creating good pieces of content that you then split off, rather than just creating 100 pieces of content every week, because you burn yourself out and they won't have as much impact.
Yeah. So I'm also going to touch on, or I want you to touch on, the aspect of imposter syndrome, right? A lot of people go through this or experience this when it comes to just putting stuff out there. I can think of a number of people who, instead of sitting down and creating the piece of content, when they sit down to create that content, it feels like, oh, what am I going to say? Are they even going to take me seriously? Am I even saying anything important? How can we get over this?
Recognize that other people are a lot more afraid than you are. So content creation is a very brave action to take. The very fact that you believe you've got something to say and that other people would benefit from this is brave enough. Most people never get past that hurdle. They think that what they have to say is unworthy or that they don't have enough credibility. But by creating content, already you've broken a barrier that 99% of the population never will. So that alone should tell you that what you have to say is important. If you're thinking that you have something important to say, you have something important to say. Otherwise, the thought wouldn't pop into your brain. So go ahead and create that first video, right? Don't even bother about writing or podcast or editing or any of that stuff. Just think of a topic literally and try and distill it to 30 seconds, shoot a video and put it on your socials. You will be surprised by the results. People will look at it and they'll watch it and they'll go, wow, I never thought about this. Or thank you for sharing your knowledge, or thanks for your insights. And that will motivate you to go back and create more and more videos, right? But you have to start. And the best way to start is to just recognize that there's nothing shameful or scary about creating content. It is a beautiful thing. It's a brave thing, and the world is waiting to hear what you have to say.
So true. The world is waiting for what you have to say. I know I've been saying that, or I say that to a lot of people, and I said that to you about starting a podcast. Finally, here we are. I'm happy.
You did. You did. Like this, all of this is because you constantly badgered me to start a podcast. So congratulate yourself, Comfort. This is all you.
Badgered?
All of this is,
oh my God.
You badgered me. You harassed me.
I can nag, but wow. Badgered is so extreme.
No, if anybody was to ask me what is your motivation or what inspired you to start creating content apart from written content, because writing I was doing, but yeah. I never started video. I never started audio video because I thought, man, there's already so many other video content creators. And that's another thing, right? That's another one of the thoughts that will stop you, is you'll tell yourself, there are already millions of other people doing this. Why should I add my voice? You've already answered your question because it's your voice, right? They haven't heard you yet. They haven't heard your spin or your perspective on the topic. So go ahead and add one more voice. There's plenty of there's a big enough audience for everybody.
Exactly. So true. So true. Just to echo something that Hermine also said in our previous video, she said that there's a lot of noise out there. And, for her, she didn't want to start speaking because she felt that she didn't have something to say. But when she started sharing her journey, she found that she found what she wanted to say. And she found that the more she shared, the more she has to share, that it was overflowing out of her. So so true. So true. So you spoke about a newsletter earlier. Where can we find it? Can you plug yourself?
Yes, so you can go to mohammedshehu.com and all the information will be there. You can also go to my Substack. That's just Shehu, PhD, SHEHU, PhD.substack, SUBSDACK.com. That's where my newsletter is being hosted at the moment. And I post once a month at the moment. I'm working on a new piece that's going to go out. But if you start out at mohammedshehu.com, you'll find everything there first.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. I know that even for me, I learned something new, something different. And I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. And I hope that it helped you as much as it helped me, because I know that now I have 4 points that I need to go and re-strategize. That is educate, motivate, entertain, and inform. I need to create a brand strategy or a content strategy concerning these 4 points and, hopefully put it out there and it helps me achieve the goals that I want. I really hope that you guys learned. And like he also said, it's kind of just jumping into it, figuring it out, being consistent on your journey, figuring out what works and what doesn't work, sticking to what works and removing the things that don't work. It is a trial and error process. So also be open to that. And like he said, just start, just do it, just get in there, because honestly, you can watch all these videos, you can read all the books. If you don't jump in, then it kind of all feels like it's nothing, right? Let me know what your comments are and your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Remember that I'm always rooting for your success. If you are new to this channel, we talk about marketing, filmmaking, and personal development. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.